Hi, I'm Jorge Antonio Vallejos, and you're watching BlackCoffeePoet.com. I am the Black Coffee Poet. I'm a poet, essayist, journalist, and blogger, and I run my website, BlackCoffeePoet.com. This vlog that I am doing right now is about learning as an ally. And as an ally, you're always in the process of learning. If not, then you're going to be stuck and you're not really going to be a good ally. So, this week has been a very interesting and fruitful week for me. I wrote some pieces, one in particular that had me learn a lot. Um, and my journey as an ally has been pretty interesting. I come from a very hyper masculine background, history. I hang with a rough crowd back in the day, and I'm a former crack dealer and car thief. I've been incarcerated briefly twice, and I've seen a lot of bad things go on. And I don't have a high school diploma, but I entered university through the back door, and that's where I started learning about activism. I went in with the mind frame of just constantly talking about racism and white people, and then learned that there's a whole lot more going on. And of course, the whole foundation for that is colonialism, being that we live on stolen land called Canada. So I started learning about women's rights, indigenous issues, queer issues, and so much more. You know what I mean? Environmental racism, etc. But it's been a hard process. You know, I've been doing activism for about 8 years. My activism is my writing primarily. I used to have a column in university called The Condor's View, and then I write now. I've got my website and just doing these videos and just collaborating with people on different things. But primarily, my activism is my writing. As an ally to different peoples, I've had to do a lot of reading. You got to do your own research if you're an ally. But my main thing in terms of being an ally is friendship. I really believe in real relationships. I'm not really into the standing on the corner and holding a sign, yelling a slogan, and then going home and never having a relationship with the people that you're actually holding a sign about or stuff like that. So I really believe in relationships. Anyways, so because of such relationships, I was compelled to write something this Monday. I saw the show The View, and The View had on Jenna Talackova, who is the Miss Universe contestant who was kicked out of the pageant for being trans and then accepted back in after she got a high powered lawyer and fought for her rights, and now she's on or in the Miss Universe pageant. So I was excited to see what she had to say, and but I knew the View is very problematic. I've seen many episodes of The View. They've been, racist. They've been, Islamophobic. They've so many bad things on The View and some good things. Anyways, so I started taking notes as I was watching the segment because it was just getting really bad. It was transphobic. They were treating Jenna in a transphobic way. So I was like, I'm gonna write about this. I write every Monday and Wednesday for my site, and every Friday is a video, which is why I'm doing this video today. And I wrote the article and I edited it and then found pictures on Google so I could put the article together, and then boom, I pressed that publish button, and then I put it on Facebook, and then the trickle effect started. People started sharing it, and then people started reading it all over the place. And I got a comment from someone who I was really happy to get this comment from. They are a trans professor from a local university, and I wanted to see what they thought about the article, so I sent it to them, and they wrote, "I love this. I don't often watch The View because it can be, as you point out beautifully, so awkward and really hurtful in its efforts to be hip. You totally rock," meaning me, Black Coffee Poet. So I was happy. I was like, awesome. And then critical comments came in. And as an ally, as an activist, you have to be able to take criticism. Now, I'm much better now than I was before. And so I was getting these comments pointing out, like, hey man, like, some thanked me. They were like, hey, thanks for writing this article, but, and, one person pointed out that while you were critiquing transphobia, you were being transphobic via just talking about the negativity as opposed to celebrating Jenna and what's being accomplished here. I'm like, whoa, you know what I mean? Okay. So I don't censor people. I posted all the comments, and then it got me thinking. I'm like, you know what? I thought I was doing a good thing here. And to some people I did, and I still think I did a good thing, but at the same time I messed up. And that's part of the learning process of being an ally. You mess up. Um, right now, who you have is a mixed race indigenous man of color who wrote about trans folk and messed up. I totally admit it. But there's been times where I've been disappointed with people from different communities in how they treat indigenous folk, people of color. They messed up. So that's what this post is about learning, the learning process of being an ally, learning as an ally. And so some other comments that I got, and I will share them right now. And they were really valid again. And I thank everyone for commenting and for reading blackcoffeepoet.com and for watching the Black Coffee Poet YouTube channel. Thank you very much. It means a lot. So, one person said, because I had learned recently from my friend Cindy that what, in her opinion, the terms M to F and F to M, male to female, female to male, in terms of trans people, are no longer being used, and trans folk prefer to use transmasculine, transfeminine. So I wrote about that. And then someone said, Lefty Tigro wrote, in reference to the birth issue, transfeminine and transmasculine might be useful terms in some instance. However, it might come off of a bit vague as a way of addressing a trans person history. Rather, I would suggest assigned male at birth or coercively assigned male at birth when talking about a trans woman. Something like, Jenna was assigned male at birth, but she corrected this later in life, or similar. I think it should be intuitive to replace male with female in the phrases above when discussing a trans man's history. So, and then someone else commented, actually a very popular person, Buck Angel, who's a well-known porn star and trans activist and educator. And so that's pretty cool that he read the post. And what he wrote was, hi, I just have to make a couple of remarks here because I think you are missing the whole point. Boom. All right. She was on the show. That in itself is pretty amazing for trans people. Let her presence speak for itself. She is a very intelligent person and can do amazing things for the trans community. The show's hosts all just look stupid as they always do. And here comes the reference to the terminology. As the terms F to M and M to F are still widely used in the community. I use F to M all the time and there is nothing wrong with that. Maybe trans people use different words many trans people use different words to describe themselves. We are not all the same. I actually consider myself a man. I do not identify as trans, but I use the term F to M sometimes. So let the world become educated one step at a time. Trust me, when you fight every word being used or being a hug not given, you are making us look like out of control PC police, and that negatively affects the whole cause. Just my thoughts and also my experience from speaking at and teaching at many colleges where non-trans people have thanked me for helping them understand. Woof! Buck Angel, pioneering filmmaker, speaker, and advocate. And you know what? He's right. I really don't like it when I'm lumped together in different groups. A lot of people refer to me as Mexican. I'm not Mexican. Like Biggie said, I ain't no Mexican. You know what? Nothing against Mexicans. I love Mexican folks, but I'm not Mexican. I'm brown. Yes. I have black hair. Yes. I got brown skin. I speak Spanish, but I'm not Mexican. So I understand where Buck is coming from. I did lump all people together. I should have worded that better, and I should have realized also, just from my own experience, hey, just because one person identifies now as trans feminine doesn't mean that everybody does. So that was a mistake. And thank you for pointing that out, Buck Angel. So that's part of the process, you know what I mean? You put yourself out there, you try to do good, and you mess up sometimes. And there's something that a woman of color that I dated a couple years ago taught me, and I love it. She was like, and I put that in my follow-up article, she said, just because you have good intentions doesn't always mean you're going to have good outcomes. I had good intentions. I wrote this article as being an ally to trans folk, and I messed up. You know what I mean? And I got called on it. And I thank everybody that called me on it. So, that's what this is about. We're going to mess up. But as my friend Cindy says, we have to be kind and loving and forgiving with each other. You know, we are all allies to each other. If you are an ally and if you care about other people and if you have this progressive mindset, some people don't, so they aren't all allies. But I'm talking about in this activist community, this progressive community, the community that I'm part of, via my writing and my friendships with people. And I do attend some rallies. I attend the rally for the missing and murdered Aboriginal women in Canada. There's 800 that have gone missing and murdered. Please educate yourself on that. You can check my site out, February 2012 and February 2011. I show up to that. I show up to December 6th, to stop violence against women. I occasionally go to International Women's Day, and I've gone to, November 20th, which is a day to honor and remember trans people that have experienced violence. Those are the only things that I go to. I don't go to everything else. There's tons of things happening all the time, but I don't go to them. My activism and my allyship is via my writing and my relationships with people, being friends with people, talking with people. But in terms of being an ally, I am gonna mess up. I've messed up before. I messed up this week. I'm gonna mess up again. And other peoples have messed up. I've seen the racism from different communities towards people like me, and they are part of this activist and progressive community. I was at an event a while ago, and I called the speaker on their racism, and the moderators who brought them, they're from two big groups in my city, didn't challenge the speaker on their racism, didn't challenge the speaker on yelling at me, and they never came out and said anything about that event. It's all under the rug. So I've been disappointed with different communities as well. But that's part of it. So again, like what Cindy says, to be kind, loving, forgiving, understanding. If we are to teach each other, let's do it in a good way. Let's not do it in an abusive way. I've cut abusive people out of my life. People have cut me out of their lives because, they don't like my former approach, which was, being angry in a corrosive way, not a productive way. There's different types of anger. And, we're not going to get anywhere with each other if we treat each other in an abusive way every time we mess up. But it is also our responsibility to own up to messing up. I messed up this week. To do our research, and research doesn't mean just asking, for example, if I'm, wanted to be an ally to trans people, always peppering trans people with questions. Do your own research, you know what I mean? I do ask my friends questions. They ask me questions. A lot of my talks with Cindy are, I'm a person of color who's indigenous, I'm mixed race, she's a trans woman, and we do ask each other questions. We do run things by each other, and that's a beautiful friendship that we have. And, my friendship with her is a lot of the reason why I'm an ally to trans folk and do my best to be an ally. And that, part of that, the reason why I wrote this post on Monday, it's like, I care about this person and about the group that she's part of and other trans folk, and I want the violence to stop, whether it be physical, emotional, verbal, or violence through media, like what happened on Monday. So yeah, I'm trying to be a good ally, but she's always treated me in a good way, and I treat her in a good way. Again, the kindness, the lovingness, the forgivingness, and if we're gonna be allies to each other, that's what we have to practice. So an example of that was a quote by a woman named Kathleen, a trans woman, and she commented on Monday's post, and what she said was, "Thanks very much for your article. Clearly you have a sincerity that was lacking on The View. What is politically correct in terminology is constantly changing. What is important is the consideration of the commentator. This is more than evident in your article. Being a trans lady, I appreciate the efforts expressed." So Kathleen taught me something. She challenged me. She thanked me. All in a kind, loving, and forgiving way. She's saying you messed up, but there were good intentions behind that. So let's realize that. And I'm going to end off with a quote by Khalil Gibran. And what Khalil Gibran says, and I've got my notes here somewhere, is, Khalil Gibran says, "To understand the heart and mind of a person, look not at what they have already achieved, but what they aspire to. So what I achieved this week was it was a learning process. I messed up. I wrote some things that were accepted by some and were critiqued by others, valid critiques. But some people saw what I was aspiring to. So let's look at each other in that way as allies. We are going to mess up, but as long as we're trying, we're willing to learn, and we accept the valid criticism, and we tell each other in a good way, a non-abusive way, then we're gonna get somewhere. So let's think about that. So that's my vlog today, learning as an ally, as a follow-up to my post, which was on Wednesday, which I titled "Learning to be an ally is always willing to learn." And that's what we have to do. So thank you very much for joining me on blackcoffeepoet.com and the Black Coffee Poet YouTube channel. Please subscribe to both. I'm also Black Coffee Poet on Twitter. Still managing that. I gotta get that going. But thank you very much for joining me. And yeah, let's be allies to each other. And let's, allyship is part of challenging each other, but let's do it in a good way and realize what we are aspiring to. Peace out.